The end of the world doesn't start with a bang, a scream, or a zombie breaking down your door. It starts with a click. That singular, sickening sound of a relay tripping somewhere in the frozen distance, followed by the immediate, oppressive silence of your modern life dying. The hum of the refrigerator, the whir of the furnace, the ambient buzz of the Wi-Fi router gone. In an instant, your overpriced smart home has been demoted from a sanctuary of comfort to a very expensive, very well-decorated tomb. Outside, the polar vortex is doing its best impression of Mars, stripping the heat from the atmosphere and turning your city into a graveyard of concrete and ice. You check your phone. No signal. The battery icon is red, staring at you like a dying eye. You have entered the blackout. And here is the brutal truth that Hollywood forgets to tell you. You aren't going to die fighting off looters with a katana strapped to your back. You aren't going to starve to death in 3 days. You are going to die because you are a tropical primate living in a sub-zero climate, and your life support system just quit. The temperature inside is dropping. It's not a slow decline, it's a free fall. Your house, that architectural marvel of open-concept living and vaulted ceilings, is actually a thermal disaster. It bleeds heat like a stuck pig. The walls are getting cold to the touch. The windows are radiating a chill that feels physical, like an invisible hand reaching in to strangle you. Hypothermia isn't a next week problem. It's a tonight problem. And this is where the herd thins out. This is where natural selection grabs a clipboard and starts making cuts. Because right now, panic is setting in, and desperate people do incredibly stupid things. Somewhere in your neighborhood, someone is dragging a charcoal grill into their living room. Someone else is turning on their gas oven and opening the door, thinking they've hacked the system. They haven't. They've just turned their kitchen into a gas chamber. Carbon monoxide is the silent killer of the unprepared, turning brains into soup while the victims feel nothing but a gentle urge to take a nap. We aren't going out like that. We are surviving this blackout with applied physics, scavenging skills, and the kind of ruthless pragmatism that would make a cockroach blush. Step 1 is realizing that your house is dead. You need to abandon the idea of heating the whole thing. That creates a fantasy that will kill you. You need to shrink your world. You need a fortress. We are going to play a game of thermal containment. Find the smallest room in your house. I'm talking about a bathroom, a walk-in closet, or a tiny bedroom with no windows. If it feels claustrophobic, good. Claustrophobia holds heat. Cathedral ceilings kill people. You are looking for a defensive box where you, your family, and your pets can exist as a single biological heating unit. Once you pick the room, you seal it. This isn't interior design. This is survival engineering. You need to stop the air exchange. Cold air is a fluid. It flows in through the cracks, under the doors, and through the weeping joints of your window frames. It hunts for heat. You need to block it. Grab every towel, blanket, spare sheet, and roll of duct tape you own. Jam fabrics under the door gap until it's tight. Tape garbage bags over the windows if you have them. Does it look like a crack den? Absolutely. Does it look like a terrifying nest built by a deranged hoarder? Yes, but aesthetics are for people with electricity. You are now a cave dweller who happens to have a mortgage. You are creating a micro-environment, a thermal pocket where the ambient temperature can stay 10, maybe 15 degrees higher than the rest of the freezing house. If you have a tenta, small camping tent set, it up inside that room. Pitching a tent in your living room sounds ridiculous, like an indoor slumber party for children. But physics doesn't care about your dignity. A tent traps body heat in an even smaller volume, creating a localized greenhouse effect powered by your own metabolism. Speaking of metabolism, let's talk about the only furnace you have left: your body. You are a biological reactor running at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. You burn chemical fuel calories and output thermal energy. The problem is that you are terribly designed. You have no fur, you have a massive surface area, and you leak heat like a broken radiator. Survival is simply the act of stopping that leak. You need to insulate the reactor. This means layers. If you put on one giant, heavy coat, you're an amateur. You want multiple thin layers. The science here is simple. You aren't trying to warm the clothes, you are trying to trap dead air between the layers. Air is the insulator. The clothes are just the structure holding the air in place. Start with a base layer-long underwear, thermal leggings, anything tight-fitting that isn't cotton. Let's be clear about cotton. In the survival community, we call it the death cloth. It absorbs moisture, holds it against your skin, and sucks the heat right out of your marrow. If you sweat in cotton, you die. Wear wool or synthetics. Next comes the middle layer. Fleece, wool sweaters, that hoodie you stole from your ex, this is your heat trap. Finally, the outer shell. A windbreaker, a heavy jacket, or even a blanket wrapped around you like a toga. And, for the love of everything holy, put on a hat. Your brain is a calorie-guzzling supercomputer that demands massive blood flow, which means your head is basically a chimney venting heat into the void. You wouldn't leave the front door open in a blizzard, so don't leave your head uncovered. Hands and feet are next. When your core temperature drops, your body pulls blood away from the extremities to protect the vital organs. It's a ruthless biological triage. Your body is willing to sacrifice your fingers to save your liver. Don't let it. Wear 2 pairs of socks. Wear gloves. If you don't have gloves, use unmatched socks on your hands. You will look insane. You will survive. Now, look at the physics of how you're losing heat. Conduction, convection, radiation. You've stopped the wind with your shelter. Convection. You've trapped your heat with layers. But conduction is the silent assassin. If you sit on the floor, the cold concrete or wood will suck the heat out of your body faster than you can generate it. You need a thermal break. Never sit directly on the ground. Use a yoga mat, a pile of dirty laundry, cardboard boxes from all those Amazon packages you haven't recycled yet, or even the cushions off the couch. You are building a nest. You are separating yourself from the thermal mass of the freezing earth. Let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the heat source in the room. You're cold, you're scared, and your brain is screaming for fire. This is where the what-if scenario turns tragic. Imagine a TikTok influencer in this situation. They'd probably try to light a decorative bonfire in the bathtub for vibes. Don't do that. And do not, under any circumstances, use a propane camping stove, a charcoal grill, or a generator inside your fortress. I cannot stress this enough. Carbon monoxide is heavier than air, it binds to your hemoglobin 200 times stronger than oxygen, and it suffocates your cells while you are still breathing. It is a ghost. If you use combustion indoors without a specialized ventilation system, you are committing suicide. So what can you use? First, the most awkward resource available: other humans. If you are locked in that room with family or friends, cuddle up. I'm serious. Get in the tent, get under the pile of blankets, and press your bodies together. A single human produces about 100 watts of heat energy at rest. 3 people is a 300-watt heater that runs on peanut butter and anxiety. It's free, it's safe, and it's effective. If you're alone, you're at a disadvantage. But you can still improvise. Do you have candles? A single candle doesn't seem like much, but in a small, sealed room like a bathroom, 3 or 4 candles can actually raise the ambient temperature by a few degrees. It's not a bonfire, but it's the difference between shivering and sleeping. Just don't burn your house down. That would be a very ironic way to freeze to death standing outside watching your shelter turn to ash. If you were smart, and I know you were, because you watched this channel, maybe you have an indoor rated propane heater, like a Mr. Heater Buddy. These are designed for this exact nightmare. They have low oxygen shutoff sensors. But even then, you don't trust the machine with your life. You crack a window, just a sliver. You need fresh oxygen. You run it in bursts. Take the edge off the cold, then shut it down. Never sleep with a flame burning. Fire is a living thing, and if you turn your back on it while you're unconscious, it will try to eat you. Now that you aren't immediately freezing to death, we need to talk about the infrastructure you are currently occupying. Your home is not a static object, it is a machine. And right now, that machine is dying. While you are huddled in your fortress of blankets pretending to be a hibernating bear, there is a countdown ticking away inside your walls. It's the plumbing. You see, water is one of the few substances in the universe that expands when it freezes. It's a geometric bully. When the water inside your copper or PVC pipes turns to ice, it pushes outward with thousands of pounds of force. It doesn't care about your property value. It will split metal like a dry twig. If you ignore this, you are going to survive the blackout only to face a second apocalypse when the power returns. a catastrophic flood that destroys everything you manage to save. The ceiling will collapse, the basement will fill up, and your home insurance adjuster will laugh at you. We are going to prevent this with simple fluid dynamics. You need to perform the drip. Go to every faucet in the house kitchen, bathroom, utility sink, and open them just enough to let a pencil-thin stream of water flow. We aren't trying to empty the reservoir, we are trying to keep the water agitated. Moving water requires much lower temperatures to freeze than standing water. It feels wasteful, I know. In a survival situation, wasting water feels like a sin. But in this specific scenario, a few gallons down the drain is the ransom you pay to keep your pipes from turning into shrapnel. If you have exposed pipes in a garage, a crawl space, or a basement, you need to insulate them immediately. Wrap them in towels, old t-shirts, foam, newspapers, or that yoga mat you aren't using. You are basically dressing your house in a sweater. It looks ridiculous. It looks like your basement is wearing your laundry. But this insulation buys you time. It slows the thermal transfer just enough to keep the water liquid. Now, let's talk about hydration. You can survive 3 weeks without food, but you'll be dead in 3 days without water. In a heavy freeze, dehydration is a stealth killer. The dry air sucks moisture out of your lungs with every breath, and the cold suppresses your thirst mechanism. You won't feel thirsty until your blood starts turning into sludge. You need a source. If you were smart, you filled the bathtub and every pot you own the second the lights flickered. That's your gray water for flushing toilets and washing. But if you missed that window and the city pressure is gone, you are sitting on a secret gold mine that most suburbanites completely ignore. Go to your utility closet. Look at that big, ugly metal cylinder in the corner. That is your hot water heater. It is not just an appliance. It is a 40 to 60 gallon emergency survival flask. Here is the heist plan for your own house. First, turn off the intake valve at the top of the tank so you don't suck in any potential contaminants from the city line. Second, turn off the gas or flip the breaker to the heater. You don't want it trying to fire up an empty tank later. That's a bomb. Third, locate the drain valve at the bottom. It looks like a garden hose spigot. You might need a screwdriver or a pair of pliers to open it because it hasn't been touched since the house was built. Place a bucket under it, open the relief valve at the top to break the vacuum, and let gravity do the work. The water might be a little cloudy from sediment, at the bottom calcium, rust, the ghosts of showers past. It's not Perrier, but it is drinkable, and it will keep your kidneys functioning. Filter it through a t-shirt if you have to. Drink it. If you run out of the tank water, you look outside. Snow. The world is covered in frozen water. But here is where the Into the Wild fantasy gets people killed. Do not eat snow. I repeat, do not eat yellow, white, or pristine alpine snow. Eating snow forces your body to burn a massive amount of caloric energy, to melt the ice into water inside your stomach. You are literally spending body heat to hydrate yourself. It is a thermodynamic transaction that you cannot afford. You will lower your core temperature and speed up hypothermia. You must melt it first. And do not melt it inside your shelter unless you have a lid on the pot and a chimney for the steam. Boiling water releases humidity. In a regular house, humidity is nice. In a freezing survival box, humidity is death. Wet air conducts heat away from your body 25 times faster than dry air. If you turn your survival room into a sauna, you will wake up damp, cold, and possibly dead. Melt the snow outside on a camp stove or in a separate room with ventilation. Bring it in only when it is liquid. Step 5 is food. The menu has changed. You are no longer a consumer. You are a scavenger in your own kitchen. The moment the power died, your refrigerator began its transformation from a preservation device into a bacterial incubator. It is a race against biology. You have a hierarchy of consumption now. Category 1, the perishables. Milk, leftovers, soft cheeses, meat that was thawing for dinner. This is the eat it or lose it tier. You have about 4 hours before the bacteria start throwing a party. Feast like a king on the first night. Make a weird buffet. Eat the steak with the yogurt and the leftover lasagna. Your stomach doesn't care about culinary pairings, it cares about fuel. Category 2, the freezer. A full freezer acts as a block of ice and will hold its temperature for about 48 hours if you keep the door shut. A half-full freezer lasts maybe 24. Do not open that door. 2. Check on the food. Every time you open it, you let the cold spill out and the warm air rush in. You are murdering your supply. But here is a stroke of genius provided by the apocalypse itself. It is freezing outside. If the temperature outdoors is below 32 degrees, nature has provided you with a planet-sized freezer. Take the food out of the appliance and put it in a cooler, a plastic bin, or a secure box and set it outside. Congratulations! You have bypassed the grid. Just remember to secure the lid with rocks or bungee cords. If you don't, you are just preparing a Michelin star meal for the local raccoon population. They are better at survival than you are, and they will steal your frozen pizza with zero remorse. Category 3. The shelf stable. This is your long game. Canned beans, rice, pasta, peanut butter, protein bars. This is the stuff that survives the nuclear fallout. If you have to cook, use your camp stove outside. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not try to boil pasta on a gas stove in a sealed house to warm the place up. You are adding moisture and carbon monoxide to your air. Cook it fast, cook it outside, and bring it in hot. And let's talk about your diet. Forget your kale salad. Forget your intermittent fasting. In a survival scenario, calories are a unit of heat. Your body is an engine running at high RPMs to keep you from freezing. You need high-octane fuel. Fat is your friend. Eat the peanut butter. Eat the chocolate. Eat the nuts. If you have a stick of butter and you're desperate, put it in the rice. You need dense energy. The shivering you're doing? That's involuntary exercise. Your muscles are vibrating to generate heat. Feed them. The psychology of eating changes in the dark. You aren't eating for pleasure. You are eating for morale. A hot meal, even if it's just warm beans from a can reset your brain. It tells your primitive lizard brain that the hunt was successful, we are safe for another few hours. Do not underestimate the power of comfort food when the world feels like it's ending. If you have a stash of candy, save it for the lowest moment. When the wind is howling, the temperature is dropping, and the kids are crying, a chocolate bar is worth more than gold. It is a hit of dopamine in a serotonin-depleted world. Darkness. It's not just the absence of light, it's the presence of the unknown. When the sun goes down in a blackout city, the darkness is heavy. It feels solid. Humans are visual creatures. We rely on sight to process threats, to navigate, to feel secure. Take that away, and we degrade rapidly into anxious, stumbling prey animals. You need to reclaim your environment. Step 6 is light discipline. You probably have flashlights. Maybe you have those fancy tactical ones that can signal an alien mothership. Great. But batteries are now a finite resource. They are currency. Every minute you leave a flashlight on while you're staring at the wall is a minute you're stealing from your future self. Use the hierarchy of light. For general existence sitting in your fortress, telling stories, eating use ambient light, candles, glow sticks, or a single battery-powered lantern on the lowest setting. Save the high-powered beams for tasks that require precision, fixing a leak, checking the perimeter, or navigating the stairs. And if you are truly desperate, the batteries are dead and the candles are gone, you can go full ancient history. Go to the kitchen, find a glass jar, a metal tin, or even a tuna can. Pour in some vegetable oil, olive oil, or even that bacon grease you've been saving for no reason. Twist a strip of cotton t-shirt into a wick, soak it, and light it. It's an oil lamp. It smells like a fast food fryer, but it produces light and heat. It's technology from 2000 BC, and it works just as well today as it did for the Babylonians. Step 7 is communication. This is where the isolation hits. Your smartphone, that black mirror you're addicted to, is now a paperweight. The cell towers have no backup power. The internet is a ghost. You are cut off from the hive mind. If you are a prepper, you're turning the crank on your emergency radio, listening to the static-filled voice of a civil defense announcer telling you to stay indoors. If you aren't a prepper, your phone is for emergencies only. Turn it off, not sleep mode off. Save the battery for a 911 call if the signal flickers back for a second. But the most critical network isn't digital. It's physical. It's your neighbors. In our modern life, we ignore them. We build fences and avoid eye contact. But in a blackout, your neighbor is your lifeline. Survival is a team sport. A lone wolf freezes to death, a pack survives. Go knock on doors. Check on the elderly lady down the street who lives alone. Check on the family with the newborn. Pool your resources. Maybe you have extra water and they have a kerosene heater. Maybe they have a camp stove and you have 20 cans of ravioli. Trade. Barter. Build a micro-community. The psychological benefit of knowing you aren't alone is massive. It stops the panic spiral. It turns, I am going to die, into, we are going to get through this. And then, eventually, it happens. It might be 3 hours. It might be 3 days. You hear a beep. A light flickers in the hallway. The furnace rumbles like a sleeping dragon waking up. The hum of the refrigerator returns. The grid is back. The relief is physical. You can feel the tension draining out of your shoulders. You rush to turn up the thermostat, and you stand over the vents worshiping the hot air. You survived. You didn't do it with a bunker. You didn't do it with a pile of guns. You did it with a pile of dirty laundry, a roll of duct tape, and a basic understanding of thermodynamics. You stared down the indifference of nature, and you won. But look around your house. Look at the dripping faucets, the blankets taped to the windows, the tent in the living room. You realize something profound. The systems we rely on, the grid, the water, the gas, they are fragile. They are temporary. And when they break, the only thing standing between you and the void is your own competence. The blackout is over, but the lesson remains. You dismantle your fortress. You put the food back in the fridge. You turn off the dripping taps. But you don't forget, next time, you'll have more water stored. Next time, you'll have a better sleeping bag. Next time, you won't just be surviving, you'll be thriving. Because the grid will go down again. The cold will come back. And when it does, you won't be the victim freezing in the dark. You'll be the one sitting warm in your fortress, eating peanut butter by candlelight, waiting for the lights to come back on. Welcome to the real world. It's cold out here. Dress accordingly.